Imagine this: a broke 65-year-old man living off a measly $105 Social Security check hits the road in his beat-up car, determined to turn his secret fried chicken recipe into a global empire. That's the wild KFC history of Colonel Sanders, the guy who proved it's never too late to crush it in the fast food game. Stick around, because this story of grit, secret spices, and billion-dollar buckets will blow your mind. We're diving into the crazy origins of KFC's global empire. Let's get into it. Born in 1890 in a tiny Indiana farmhouse, Harlan Sanders, yep, that's the Colonel's real name, had a rough start. His dad died when he was just 6, leaving his mom to work long hours at a canning factory. Little Harlan stepped up, cooking for his siblings while she was gone. We're talking simple Southern grub like country ham and biscuits. But school? Nah, he dropped out in 7th grade to work full-time on a farm. From there, his life was a whirlwind of odd jobs: streetcar conductor, railroad fireman, even a stint in the army in Cuba at 16. He faked his age to enlist. By his 20s, he was studying law by mail and practicing in Arkansas. But a courtroom fistfight with his own client ended that gig quick. Fast forward through the roaring 20s. Sanders ran a ferryboat company, sold tires, and even lit lamps for a living. But the Great Depression hit hard, and at 40, he finally found his groove. In 1930, he took over a Shell gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, right on a busy highway. Travelers needed fuel, but they were hungry too. So Sanders started slinging meals from a tiny room behind the pumps: steak, ham, and yeah, his now famous fried chicken. Word spread like wildfire. By 1935, Kentucky's governor named him an honorary colonel for his killer cooking. But here's where it gets juicy. What secret twist turned his pan-fried chicken into a game-changer that would dominate fast food? Well, Sanders wasn't satisfied with slow cooking methods. In the late 1930s, he experimented obsessively, blending 11 herbs and spices into what became his original recipe. And the real breakthrough? A pressure fryer he tweaked in 1940. It cooked chicken faster, juicier, and crispier than anything out there. No more waiting 30 minutes per batch. His roadside spot boomed, even getting a shout-out in a famous food guide. But just as things were heating up, disaster struck in 1939. A massive fire torched his restaurant and motel. Everything gone in flames. Would the Colonel rebuild? Or was this the end of his dream? Spoiler, he didn't quit. Sanders scraped together cash, rebuilt bigger and better. A 142-seat spot called Sanders Court and Cafe. Business exploded during World War II, but gas rationing killed tourism. He divorced, remarried his employee Claudia, and kept pushing. By 1952, at 62, he struck gold. His first franchise deal with a buddy in Utah. They called it Kentucky Fried Chicken to evoke that Southern charm. Sales tripled overnight. More franchises popped up, and Sanders coined the slogan, "It's finger-lickin' good." But wait, how did a new highway nearly bankrupt him and spark the biggest comeback in fast food history? Here's the pivot. In 1956, Interstate 75 bypassed Corbin, turning his bustling spot into a ghost town. At 65, Sanders sold the restaurant at a loss, left with just that $105 monthly check. Most folks would retire, right? Not the Colonel. He loaded his pressure cooker into his 1946 Ford and hit the road, demoing his chicken for restaurant owners across America. Sleeping in his car, cooking in kitchens from Ohio to California, he'd say, "Use my recipe, pay me a nickel per chicken sold." No upfront fees, just pure hustle. By 1960, he had 200 outlets. 3 years later, over 600. This franchising model was genius. It scaled fast without him footing the bill for every store. Business lesson: protect your IP like Sanders did with his secret recipe, locked in a safe to this day. But running it all solo was chaos. At 74 in 1964, Sanders sold KFC for $2 million to investors. A fortune back then. He stayed on as the face of the brand, That iconic white suit, goatee, and string tie becoming a marketing goldmine. Under new owners, KFC exploded globally. First Canada, then the UK, Australia, even Japan by 1970. They standardized everything. The red and white buckets, the secret spices shipped pre-mixed. By the 70s, it was bought by big cores like Heublein and PepsiCo, pushing into China in 1987 as the first Western fast food there. But how did KFC turn fried chicken into a holiday tradition in places you'd never expect? Take Japan, for instance. KFC landed there in 1970, but a clever marketing blitz in 1974 made it synonymous with Christmas. No turkey? No problem. Kentucky for Christmas campaigns convinced families to grab buckets instead, selling over 3 million pieces on Christmas Eve alone nowadays. It's a cultural phenomenon, with lines out the door and pre-orders months in advance. Wild, right? And in China, KFC's biggest market today with over 10,000 stores, they adapted hard, adding rice porridge, youtiao dough sticks, and Peking duck-inspired wraps to the menu. This localization wizardry exploded growth. By 2025, China accounts for a third of all KFC spots worldwide. India's another success story. To win over a largely vegetarian crowd, they rolled out paneer burgers and veg rice bowls alongside halal chicken options. In the Middle East, everything's certified halal, blending Sanders spices with local favorites like shawarma flavors. Business insight here. Global domination demands flexibility. Stick to your core, that secret recipe, but tweak for tastes. KFC's faced backlash too, from health critics slamming fried food to animal rights groups pushing for better sourcing. Yet, they've pivoted with innovations like plant-based Beyond Fried Chicken in 2020, tapping the vegan boom and delivery apps to battle rivals like McDonald's. Today, over 30,000 locations in nearly 150 countries, raking in billions. But get this, Sanders hated some changes, once calling the gravy wallpaper paste. Feisty till the end. So, what can we learn from a guy who failed at dozens of jobs but built an empire after 65? Persistence pays. Sanders tried everything until chicken stuck. Franchising lets you grow without owning it all, turning one recipe into a worldwide machine. And branding? The Colonel became the logo, humanizing fast food in a sea of burgers. His story screams, age is just a number in business. He passed in 1980 at 90, but KFC's still finger-licking everywhere. What's your favorite KFC meal? Share it in the comments below. I gotta know if it's the original recipe bucket or those spicy zingers. And remember, no matter where you are, keep hustling.